This is going to be a bit of like a fun random video that I don't know if you could get much advice out of it, but I think you'll certainly enjoy it. I'm here today to talk about Waterdeep, which I'm going to be doing infrequently alongside my Tomb of Annihilation series that I am more actively doing. But I think that what I do want to talk about is just how the game went, and maybe some things that I learned from it, or things that didn't go so well, or things that went really well and stuff like that. And particular relationships between characters and players, and stuff that I added to the module to make it more interesting. Because Dragon Heist is one of those modules where you can really put anything in there. People think that having the entire thing restricted to just a single city is restrictive. No. Restricting creativity causes more creativity. When you have limitations, it makes you therefore have to think within those limitations, and kind of gets that more creative thought process going, instead of, this adventure is going to span the entire world, I guess I'll do a bunch of goblin raids. You know what I mean? Like when you're in a city setting and your adventure is restricted to walls and towers and the city within. I think that there's just as much potential within that as an entire world. It just means that you won't have as much long-term travel. Travel just won't be as much of a thing. But I added plenty of stuff to Dragon Heist that I do want to talk about. One thing was a side adventure that took 2 or 3 sessions at least, that was a simple Force Grey mission. I think it was Force Grey, could have been someone else, but basically the party were, I believe, all members of Force Grey, and they were tasked with investigating necromantic activity going on in the graveyard. Good old standard quest setup, you know. And I think that it was a cool, neat setup. Basically, the first mission was to find them and also get in there without being spotted, sort of thing. So it was a bit of a stealth mission to start off with. And the general idea I had for this necromancer was a necromancer who believed he was doing the absolute right thing because he had a different level of necromancy. They were getting to that level now that they were like, I think they were level 4 or something, maybe 5. And they'd seen a lot of NPCs at this point, and they likely knew the necromancer stereotype was like some evil, conniving, I'm going to bring the dead back and I'm going to use them to destroy the city, wahaha. This guy was different. He was raising them from the dead and then promptly just leaving and not doing anything with them, and pretty much just amassing a small army, which in fact was just a friend group, I guess. So he had this magic spade that he used. It was a big old, it functioned as a +2 battle axe so that he could swing at things, and he was very strong because he also had like a belt of strength or something that gave him a lot of strong. And he was an old dude, and basically fully believed that he was doing the right thing, or at least under the influence of the Mind Flayer that had taught him that. So I was really putting like an Illithid plotline in there in terms of their influence over people and stuff like that, and how they'd managed to kill him, or at least bring him unconscious, then brought him back to life. And he was confused and acted like a 70-year-old man who wasn't strong anymore. And that was true. But basically, they were all lies that whatever Illithid thing is going on in his head had planted in there for him. In any case, he was a good necromancer who, with his magic spade that he had, or it was more like a massive shovel, instead of just bringing back a zombie or a skeleton, he would bring them back in the form of like a wight, or a ghast or a ghoul, but as a good white ghast or ghoul, or at least the person that they were before they died. They retain all their memories, and each of them had their own personal dilemmas of going back to their old families and stuff like that. And one of his main goals after he'd risen enough people was to try and figure out how to bring him back to being a person in terms of physicality. But of course, once he'd amassed enough of an undead group of 30, 40, 50 people, in essence, the Illithid controlling him would have like Thanos snapped his mind into suddenly becoming evil. And yeah, the way that he was controlled as well would bypass any sort of spell that would try and determine his actual intentions. Like, he even got a Zone of Truth casted on him, and it was still revealed that he was entirely being truthful when he was saying, I don't know what was happening, man, I'm just an old dude, because that's what he was then conditioned to think. It was pretty cool, and set up a whole new mystery for characters later on to continue to start doing the same thing with different seeds being laid out. Like, I had a plot line planned for like a gladiator or something that would like dominate an arena and be amazing, and then after reaching the top would basically start murdering everyone that was trying to participate, and then people would be too scared of him to stop him and stuff like that. And plenty of those sorts of plot lines that I wanted to do. And I think that Dragon Heist is the best module, in my opinion, to showcase like NPCs living in a more realistic setting that we can relate to. Most people in the world live in more solid civilization, you know what I mean? Like, not everyone's living out their cottagecore fantasies off in their little houses with their farms and stuff. Most of us are in buildings next to buildings next to buildings next to cities next to whatever, and that's what Waterdeep is. So exploring an NPC psyche in civilization could cause it to become, even just by what setting they're in, more sympathetic, if you know what I mean. But in any case, the encounter went alright. Obviously the party had a quest to do, and parties will go and do the quest so that they can get the levels and the money, even if they have like morals to work on. They might try and arrest them, but they're always going to try and antagonize and complete their job to their best ability, because D&D is a little bit competitive that way. They want to do the best they can. I would do the same, really. So they'd arrived, and after a bit of scouting out, they saw him, and he's a human, so he didn't have dark vision or anything like that, with a few of his undead. They were holding torches and stuff, so the area was illuminated, so they were somewhat easy to see. And they managed to spot him in the middle of the act, plunging the shovel down into the dirt and watching like a new ghoul or something rise out and just be like, hi, what's up, what's going on? And they interrupted that beginning conversation by just attacking. They all went pretty defensive. They had a wight with them who immediately ran back and started shooting things, and the main shovel dude was like kiting them and like doing whatever he could to stay away from the fight and just saying, I really don't want to do this, but they kept going. And eventually, after like because he didn't have any legendary actions or resistances or anything, he was pretty easy to cast a single spell on and cause him to basically spiral into, you know, almost losing. And he actually managed to weasel his way out of it, and after trying to be convinced and it failing, he went down into the crypts where there was a large dungeon that I had planned for them. They went through it, they had some more combats and stuff, they had some weird incidents where some dude fought a mimic alone, like a dumbass, because he went like exploring off in the dungeon alone and just walked into the room, and like I mentioned a very large table, and he's like, I'm gonna kick the table. And the table rose up to try and kill him, and everyone else was like a room away. But yeah, after a big combat that I quite liked, he was handed over to Force Grey, and that was that done. And overall, I think that made the party realize some more moral stuff. This dude believed that he was right in whatever weird stupor that he was, because the people he was bringing back, he was almost like reviving them in a way. They just look different and smell awful. And it certainly made my party think about morals more, I think. Like, they like apprehended him mostly. One or two of the party members were being their chaotic selves, but most of them were going for like apprehension and trying to keep him alive, because he seemed more respectable and like he did believe what he was doing was correct and wasn't antagonizing the party negatively as well. That's one of the things. If any character just doesn't antagonize the party in any way, they're gonna like at least come to understand them or like them in some way. And like most of my NPCs are pretty antagonistic, because I like to have my party not like a bunch of people, so that within their own party they feel more safe, you know what I mean? Like with the others in the group, they gel more as a team, because some of the people on the outside are dicks, and the people within they like. You know what I mean? Like, it makes the player characters feel cooler when a lot of NPCs around them are kind of passive aggressive and, you know, I don't know. It's to empower the party, if you will. But when they're nicer, it makes them think a bit more, I think. So yeah, that's something that you can do in Dragon Heist. Just if you want, you know, you can slap like 2 or 3 sessions worth of some moral quandary where the party has to go and deal with some necromancer. There's plenty of other ways that we could do it, and if you want to talk ideas, then join the Discord, which is in the description, or comment and we'll talk back and forth there. You can also like and subscribe to see more of this sort of stuff if you want to see that. I might do like I have an idea for a series that I want to do for this that might need a bit of planning, where basically I'll come up with like a small side quest that you can put into your own Dragon Heist game to maybe break up some of the pacing and do a more personally oriented thing. You could send me specific requests based on player characters and what they might want to do. It might be a couple of weeks late, but I think it'll be worth it. Anyway, thank you for watching. See ya.